Welcome to the Sana Project, where we take you well beyond our everyday skin clinic practices and give you insights to our philosophy. This collaborative podcast is hosted by our team and guest experts in various fields. So let us take you to Skinfinity and beyond, where we will be covering topics on skin, internal health, mind, soul, energy, life, and integrated practices. Our hope is to spark thoughts that resonate and serve you to make conscious choices to live your best life. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it.
Hi, and welcome back to just another episode of the Sana Project. Today we're sitting down again with one of our inspiring clients, and she's got a very, very interesting business, and I can't wait to talk about that. But first, we're going to dive in a little bit more about her skin. So up until now, all the clients we have had on the podcast, they have all had more of quite a severe concern with their skin, something that really impacted their skin, and you're quite different. So I've got Aliyah here with me. Hello.
Hi.
So Aliyah has been coming here for a little while, but she's what we call our quite low maintenance client. So she doesn't necessarily have a concern. She really just came and said, hang on, I'm not really doing anything for my skin. What can I do? And yeah, we just started you off. You're coming in for facials every now and then, but you have been really, really good with your skincare. So talk us through a little bit about that little journey with us.
Yeah. So basically my skin was pretty good, but I had zero self-care. So when I say zero, I don't even mean just with skin. I mean with everything. Like my confidence, whatever I was feeling good about myself came from doing things for someone else.
Yep.
Never doing things for myself. Only once I started getting facials from you did I actually think, oh, okay, maybe I should do something about myself.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah.
So obviously like skin was still, I'd say a bit more dull, a bit more dry. So it wasn't perfect.
Yep.
But my acne was more in my teenage years.
Yep.
And
how old are you now?
I'm 23 now.
Yep.
So acne kind of passed. I would get a pimple now and then, but yeah, skin wasn't great and I wasn't feeling so confident about it. It would feel kind of dull, look kind of tired.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I wasn't just giving any care to myself. And then mum was like, oh, come and get a facial. She's amazing. Oh my God. And I was like, okay. And then I remember the first time I laid down and I almost fell asleep and I was like, oh my God. That was
actually,
the
you know
best
what
facial.
that reminds me of? Like the first time you came, it took you a while to actually just settle into the relaxation of it.
I was thinking of like, oh my gosh, I should be doing something right now. My mind was wandering, but then by the end of it, I was like, oh my God.
I think you did fall asleep.
I did. I was like feeling so, and it was like, because the feeling I hadn't had it in such a long time, I was like, wow, that feels so good. And then I just kept coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that just highlights another type of client that we would usually see. So for yourself, you let us know when you're running low on your skincare, whenever you got time or you feel like a little facial, you're coming in. But at the same time, we also almost at the start had to explain to you why to use certain products, what they actually do. So I actually quite like that, to take it really back to basics, so we don't have to dive into complete depth of how skin functions and why something happens. It was literally, okay, take this, look after yourself. And yeah, so I really love that part of the client journey as well.
Yeah, well, it definitely made an impact on how I feel more than like, yes, how I looked. Yeah. Like I've been getting compliments this last week over my skin.
Oh, amazing.
And I was like, oh, okay, thanks. But like, obviously it's more, yes, the physical aspect of it is there, but it's how I feel inside. Yeah. So I was doing a lot of, I guess, more manly things to make me feel good, whereas not really like taking care of myself looking wise. I used to think that as a bad thing or okay, I don't do that. Yeah. Thought it was kind of like a girly thing. But now I'm like embracing it, like even if it is a girly thing, it's okay. Yeah. And it's actually making me feel good about myself, which is cool.
I love that. Yeah. I love that.
I haven't told you that before, have I?
No, you haven't.
Well, there you go.
Perfect. Now, for a 23-year-old, you actually have got an amazing business that you started. And the reason why we wanted to talk about it, so you are a dog trainer. but with a very different spin on it.
Yep.
And we'll dive into that very quickly. But you would be surprised how many times, obviously, when we get clients in, yes, we talk, technical things about their skin and everything else, but then the chit-chatty starts as well.
Yeah.
And, oh, my God, so many times dogs come up. Got a new puppy. My dog just wrecked my something. Like just, dogs come up in our conversation all the time. So give us a little rundown on how long you've been doing this, how you got into it, why you're so passionate about it.
Cool. So basically, as soon as I finished school, I started dog walking.
Yep.
I was looking for a Christmas casual job and I was like, I like dogs. I'm going to start dog walking. And what happens is it just happened naturally. So as I was going to different people's houses and I could see the situations that were people in, and as I was learning about dog behavior myself in order to walk the dogs better, if they were pushy, if they were pulling, if they were reactive, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually okay at this. And then I was like, realizing how much people needed help and lacked understanding of dogs. Like I find like so many people get a dog, but not many people understand a dog.
Yeah.
So many people develop behavioral issues with their dog and they're like, where the hell did this come from? And people think it's generally, okay, my dog started reacting after a fight happened, or one day it just switched, or, it's just like this one moment, whereas it's a compound over time from little practices within the relationship.
Yeah.
So what happened with when I was starting the dog walking is it naturally grew that passion. And then I did a dog training course here in Australia to get my certification so that I could become a trainer.
Yep.
I hated every minute of it.
Yeah, and I think that's what
absolutely
leads into my next question. So how does it differ what you do to your mainstream dog training?
Yeah, so a lot of the clients I get have been to very obedience-based or compulsion trainers, which is like you're going to do what I say, relying on a tool to correct their dog or make them do what they want, or relying on a certain command, or very reward-based. So positive reinforcement, bribery, come and get this, and the dog just blowing them off. So what I do is very lifestyle and relationship based.
Yeah.
So many people come to me and their dog acts different straight away and they're like, how the hell did that happen, right? So it's like anything. It's the relationship you have with that dog that's going to determine the outcome. So people generally think, okay, I'm going to rely on a secret method or a secret tool or a secret treat. There is no secret tool or method or treat. It's your daily practice, your routine, your relationship with them, where they learn about you. Yeah. So a lot of people will be like, oh, my dog doesn't listen to me. I'm like, okay, when you say something, do you follow through? No. That's why they learn they can blow you off. Yeah. Or for example, my dog doesn't trust me. So a big thing is reactivity that I deal with. So say the owner is really like, oh my God, my dog's reacting at every single person or dog that walks by. I'm like, okay, how do you make your dog feel over time? Is someone to come up and pat your dog, do you just allow them? Do you understand what your dog's feeling? Do you understand the signals of your dog telling you, hey, I'm not comfortable here? So over time, what happens is, say, from puppyhood, people constantly invading that dog's space. Yeah. And then one day the dog's like, I'm not taking this anymore. And then they start reacting. And then the person's like, where did this come from? Yeah. So a lot of what I do is prevention over intervention. Yeah. So it's creating a relationship where your dog trusts you before they start developing themselves and then starting making decisions for themselves. Yeah. So very, very relationship based. I will use tools obviously to help me, but my goal is direction over correction. Yeah. So it's how can we help the dog to make a better choice rather than forcing them to make a better choice or bribing them to make a better choice. Yeah. So if I trust you and we were to go out and say if you're a big, strong man and I felt a little bit uncomfortable in a situation, say for a dog, say if it was me, I could lash out, I could hide, I could avoid. So a lot of dogs choosing fight and flight. Yep. Whereas if I feel secure with you, I'm going to feel more relaxed and I'm going to naturally make better decisions based on how I feel rather than forcing me to walk beside next to you when I'm feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's not going to be holding, and I'm going to be holding a lot of tension.
Yeah.
So the goal is to make the dog feel better.
Yeah. And to give you guys a little bit of a backstory there as well, you actually helped me with my dog, Millie, she's a very interesting dog. But I guess when we started working together with Millie, the insights that you taught me about her, they just made so much sense. And I almost saw it as there's like that psychology element to what you actually teach the owner. So it's not just about what you can do for the dog. It's more so how you can actually get the owner to understand more about it, how to therefore act and react and handle the dog in a very, very different way. And like over how long did we train for? Was it like
10 sessions?
Yeah, 10 sessions. So just the transformation that I've seen in Millie, like it was just incredible. Like she surprised me on so many elements. And I'm like, she's never going to do that. And then all of a sudden she was just happily like doing that. But then again, I also really, really understood every time that I would potentially be being a little bit lazy, letting her get away with things or whatever. It literally reflected in her behavior again too. So like I love that. Mm-hmm. And to give people a little bit more of a background on you. So most of you would have met Aisha on the podcast and our events. So she does breath work, spinal energetics, and you help out a lot as well on those events. And I feel like there's a very, very strong connection between what you do and then the way you run your business.
Yes.
So what's something that you would say you really, really love about your job?
So, well, me and Mum use each other's examples all the time within work. So she'll be like, oh, a dog does this when she's talking to clients. I'll be like, oh, humans do this when I'm talking about dogs. So it's really funny how it balance, like it's the same thing. Yeah. So psychology and behavior is different in terms of dogs and people. Yeah. But all the basic concepts are the same. Yeah. So your energy will speak louder than your words. Yeah. So before I'm even going to follow through with an action with a dog, I've got to get my energy right first. Yeah. So with Mum, she'll have to be like, I have to set it doesn't matter how intelligent you are, you have to have your energy right first, because your intuition and your connection to yourself will make the action so much better moving forward. So something I like is a lot of people will think as a dog trainer, oh, you must teach tricks or obedience commands and things like that. I do barely any of that. I'll do your basic commands. It's all emotional regulation, nervous system regulation, getting the dog to be able to handle stress, calming themselves down, being confident. It's literally like I'm a coach for the dog.
It is, isn't it? It's and I love that.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I see them work through their stress, overcoming fears, because people think, oh, my dog's just bad. I'm like, no, your dog's stressed. Yeah. Like they're not doing that to be defiant. They're not doing that to be rude. They're doing it because they're lacking trust in the handler, and they're lacking confidence in themselves.
And I think every dog owner would have experienced at least once that, like, let's say I'm feeling really stressed and anxious for the day. Dogs pick up on that. Like, dogs are incredible at feeling things. And like, even if you think about like one fun little story, like my dog actually, when I was pregnant with my first baby, like he knew before I had any signs that I was about to go in labor, because he was circling me like a maniac. And I'm like, oh my God, what's wrong with you today? You're so annoying. But like he obviously knew. So it makes so much sense that it's not just about the dog. It's actually almost more about the owner, isn't it?
It is. So I love this because I've seen a few trainers say this is so funny. The hardest breed to train, humans. I love that. Yeah, because at the end of the day, a dog knows how to be a dog. Yeah. So I'm not teaching them anything that they don't know. Yeah. They naturally want to follow, get rules, get boundaries, get limitations, understand what's right and what's wrong. Yeah. They naturally want to work for resources. They naturally have certain abilities. Yeah. You have to understand those abilities and work with their nature, not against their nature. Yeah. So think of training your dog as the dog understanding our language. Behavior and psychology is us understanding their language. And I think it's much more fair to them if we understand and fulfill them first as dogs, whereas a lot of people are fulfilling their dogs as humans. Yeah. So we will do what's natural to us, which is baby them, pick them up. It's okay. do things like that, whereas it's not
hard
natural
if
for a
they're bloody
dog.
cute though.
It is hard. It's a battle every day.
Yeah. So I think that almost brings me to the next question. What would be the most challenging part about your job, and how do you handle it? Have you got a story or something?
Definitely the owners following through, because it is about, like for me, if I was to take a certain dog, because I understand why what works and how it works, I follow through. Whereas it's a lot of the times, I feel uncomfortable to not allow my dog to do this, or I feel bad to do this to my dog. And it's like, that's why it takes so much time explaining why I'm doing it every single step.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think, like say if I said to you, don't allow Millie on the couch, but why? Don't allow her to have Millie certain freedom, but why? And then you feel bad. So then I always have to go back to explain, for example, like a lot of people have that thing of, I feel bad to not allow my dog to do things. I feel bad to give them so much freedom. Why am I adding in structure and things like that? It's like, okay, say your dog is reactive 10% of the time and you have no rules, boundaries, limitations throughout the 90% of the day.
Yeah.
If they're not listening to you for 90% of the day, why would they listen to you at 10% when they're at their worst? So I'm always telling why, because if I didn't know why, I wouldn't continue either. Yeah. You have to know your why.
And do you know what? Like I so often, I think I said this to you multiple times during the time that we were training with Millie, it makes so much sense when you know the background, the whys, because it is not much different than having kids. Like it's exactly the same.
Exactly.
Like if I always say, I've got to count 2, 3, but nothing happens.
Exactly.
It's the same with her. Like honestly, it's the same.
Exactly. And because they can't understand words either, it's like you have to follow through.
Yeah.
Because they're like, okay, she just talks and nothing happens. Okay, bang, 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 and nothing's moving. So the dog's just like, okay, I'm just going to go do whatever I want.
Yeah. That is really, really cool. And I hope people are listening to this. Now, you've actually taken your business to, like, I feel like you reinvented the business, the industry as such, because you've taken it online. You've got online books, online courses. Give us a rundown on that.
Yeah, so I've got 3 ebooks out. So I've got a membership page and they consist of 3 ebooks of all my foundational work. So I find that when I'm working with clients, rare few have deep rehabilitation problems. Majority of them just lack the basics. So a lot of the times I'm doing sessions of just teaching them really standard things, communication, energy, how it affects your dog, fulfillment. Fulfillment is a massive one because majority of behavioral issues come from lack of fulfillment, such as, okay, you don't want your dog to react to other dogs, but your dog's not getting an outlet which is natural to them, such as herding instincts, for example. So I've got 3 ebooks on behavior, leash training and communication. That's going to help you work through pretty much walking, but also any issue in general. And then crate and place trainings, which is your structure and your boundaries at home. So the reason those are my foundational key ingredients to my basics is basically because, first of all, you've got to understand the dog you're working with. It's like any relationship. If you don't understand someone, what's the point? If you don't understand your needs, how are we going to have a relationship? So it's fulfillment, how to prevent behavioral issues, why a dog does what it does, a bunch of different other stuff in terms of behavior, reading body language, signals, how they communicate, how they socialize. Socialization is a massive one because people do that wrong, like all the time.
Oh, you can see it at any dog park.
All the time. Like, by the way, don't go to any dog parks, anyone. Thank me later. So behavioral ebook is that one. Then I've got my leash training one, which is all communication, working them through things because so many dogs pull on leash and that actually leads to reactivity. So just having that tension on the leash and having no communications, like, okay, your dog's reacting, how can you get them out of it? Or before they make that choice, how can you show them what they do before they make the choice? So I'm very direction over correction.
That was a big one for Millie, her leash training. Like she was so scatterbrained and like there's a leaf, run after it. So many dogs zigzag and people think, oh, freedom and fun. Like, no, that dog's anxious. The dog's freaking out, doesn't know where to go, has no clear direction, has no purpose, is just all over the shop. So it's almost like the basic work that they can do. Once they've done that and they still have an issues, they could then do some one-on-one sessions with you.
So I would say majority of that will remove the issues unless you, again, if it's a proper rehab case, yes, of course you'll need that extra help. But I have so many people that just do my ebooks like, oh, the issues are gone. Just from basics. Like people go on, say, I have owners who, I went to a trainer and this was the last dog I kind of had. They were like, I went to a trainer and we were doing dog reactivity, corrections, popping, wasn't budging, was still reactive, still feeling tense, still feeling anxious.
Yeah.
And if you're doing things like that, you're going to always be in management, always trying to correct your dog. Whereas I'm like, okay, why is that dog reacting in the first place? Got to make him feel better. He's not feeling confident. He's feeling insecure. He's not trusting you to protect his space.
Yeah.
He's claiming the owner's at home. So if he's entitled to claim the owner's at home, which is basically like he feels responsible for you, he's going to guard me.
Yeah.
So I don't need to stop the guarding. I need to stop him feeling responsible for me first.
Yeah.
Because that will prevent the following behavior. So if I'm feeling angry, I'm not going to go skipping down the road like I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm going to do behaviors that show I'm angry. Yeah. So if we can change how the dog's feeling, giving them healthy coping mechanisms for stress, build that trust in us, make them feel more confident, teach them how to very well emotionally regulate, majority of the time they're not making those choices. Yeah. Whereas people focus on, okay, they're reacting, that's the problem. That's the result of the problem.
Yeah.
Not the actual core root of the problem. Yeah.
And see, I love that even because that is very much what we do here as well. And that's why it aligns so well. And I really understand where you're coming from, because in terms of skin, we always say we don't want to have a Band-Aid solution and the problem is still underlying. So you're doing the same thing.
Exactly.
Just in a very, very different area. Now, when someone obviously has done your ebooks, I know you do one-on-one obviously in person, but how does it work online? How do you work with someone online?
As in through the membership page?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically my ebooks are there and they have step-by-step instructions, rules, understanding of why, but I also have video guides on there. I had a client, the one that I mentioned that was that I just spoke about, that they had the trainer that wasn't really helping out. And I said, okay, we need to not worry about the reactivity right now. First, fix the relationship. Yeah. So I said, first, before you come to me, get my ebooks, get my membership page, work through your basics. One day, he was already crate trained.
Wow.
So what happened before, he was just barking at the crate.
Yep.
If anything was in there for them to get it, if they were trying to reward him. So again, reward-based still wasn't working.
Yeah.
So just through communication, understanding the steps and watching the guide, because I work through with a dog who wasn't crate trained either.
Yep.
They were able to work him through in that one day. And I was shocked because I was kind of testing, okay, let me know how it goes so I can see if it actually helps.
So do they send you videos of how it goes?
Yeah, they send me photos and videos, and like people who even have purchased my membership page book in calls with me after that, be like, hey, this is amazing. Cool. I want to do a bit more now personal thing into my dogs. Yeah.
So it's not just here's a book, off you go, good luck with it.
Exactly. You'll have constant connection with me as well.
Yeah, that's perfect.
But yeah, it's literally so easy to follow, and it is all my foundation. And people think, oh, dog training is just complicated. It's not. Yeah. It's very basic, because every single time I explain something, as you would have known, it's like, oh, that makes so much sense. Yeah. Like, why was that confusing?
Do you know what was one big game changer? And I know, let's talk about that just for a second. I know it's not on our list of questions, but crate training.
Yes.
I know a lot of people actually, and I kind of had that thought before I met you as well. It's kind of cruel. You're locking the dog away.
I thought that too.
And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I tried with her at the beginning because, I heard good things about it, but I didn't actually know much about the whys and hows and everything. But like for Melly, as an example, she was just so anxious and always guarding, and she was just, as you always said, scatterbrained all over the place. I thought there's no way in hell she will ever actually go into a crate.
She shocked both of us.
She did. And now, like, literally, it's her little safe place. It's her. When she gets overwhelmed, she just looks at me. She's like, can I just go in there now? And then I'm like, yep. And I put the blanket over so she doesn't need to see anything. Yeah. And then she literally is just out and is happy. Yeah. And she used to sleep in my bed every single night. And I remember saying to her, I've created a monster. How do I get her to actually be happily sleeping elsewhere so I can stretch out? And now she's like, literally, it comes 8 o'clock. She just looks at me and is like, can I now? Like, I'm like, yeah, go. She loves it.
I love that.
Yeah, she loves it.
That's so good. Yeah, I also thought the same thing, because my first dog wasn't crate trained.
Yeah.
And then I got Nala and Luna and my 2 staffies, and I needed to because they were litter mates and they had separation anxiety with each other. Yeah. So they were slightly crate trained before then, but that's when I really had to knuckle in on it. So if a dog's stressed or you're working through any behavioural problems, I like to always use the example of, okay, a dog in the wild. If they were in a stressful situation, the 2 places they'd run to, their pack or their den. Yeah. So dogs are denning animals, which is kind of like a burrow little thing. And that's what the crate's meant to represent.
Yeah.
So it's kind of got this stigma of it's only for puppies, or it's cruel, or you're not giving them freedom, or things like that. And with majority of the dogs that I work with, they don't want freedom, they want security.
Yeah.
So dogs are looking for safety above everything else. And so she was feeling stressed when you were leaving.
Yeah.
It wasn't about desensitizing her to you walking out the door. It's how can we make her feel safe even when you're not home?
Yeah.
So by providing that instinctual safe space of the crate and teaching her what it means, she was like, oh, I get that feeling from there. So when you were leaving, she's like, I've still got that. Or instead of sleeping in your bed at night and getting that security, she's like, I've got the crate instead. So she could not only just have security, but she could have independence as well.
Yeah.
And people generally think the crate is, when a dog's working through the crate, that if they're having trouble with it, the dog's resisting the crate. But they're actually resisting everything they're allowed to do outside of the crate. So that's why I say you have to work through it, because your dog still feels responsible for someone coming into the door. Your dog still feels responsible to watching out your every move.
Yep. So it's literally you can knock off now. Your job is done.
Exactly. It's an off switch. Yeah. It's like when you're in, it's like your bedroom. Like say you were having a crap day and your kids had friends over and you were like, oh, I can't, I'm feeling overwhelmed. And I said, you can't use your bedroom. You'd feel like, oh my gosh, I just want to be left alone right now. So the crate is meant to be like a bedroom where they can just switch up, like, oh, I'm not responsible for anything or anyone. And I can just zone out. So that's a part of regulation. Yep. And I find it unfair to work a dog through any reactivity unless they feel safe in a crate. Because with that door shut, it's basically saying they don't have control to worry about anything anymore. And if they're completely comfortable with having no control over anything, they trust you. Yeah. So it's breaking through a lot of barriers in the relationship.
Yeah. And again, that just makes so much sense. So I think I had some questions about it, like why you're so passionate, but like this is literally just answer it all. But your industry is obviously quite controversial with some dog trainers. I know they sometimes make the news and all that sort of stuff. But if you were here to kind of get one message across to people, the industry, what would that be?
Don't worry about proving a point, whether that is to your friends of how good your dog is trained or trainer to trainer. Just focus on the dog in front of you and fulfill the dog in front of you and be present with the dog in front of you. Don't worry about anything else. So many people worried about, oh, I'm embarrassed, and they try and quickly, because I was that person, don't look at my dog, they're not barking. Yeah. Work them through and just don't worry about anything else. Just be present with that one dog. Yeah. And just learn to understand them. Because at the end of the day, even if you're not doing the exact perfect method, your dog will understand when you're present with them, when you're working through things, when you're there for them. Yeah. That's what really matters.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Okay, so to kind of wrap things up, anyone with a dog, whether that's a puppy or an older dog, if they're kind of thinking about that, they might need some help. Obviously, come and see you. But what would be some sort of, I guess, either advice or red flags to look for when choosing a trainer?
Okay. I've got so many stories, but basically based off them, any trainer who just slaps a tool on your dog and corrects straight away, massive red flag, because they are relying on correction and suppression. Yeah. If they're not doing anything relationship based and they're just working through the reactivity. So if they're like, hey, how is it at home? What's your lifestyle like? What does your dog do all day? They're just going straight to, putting a dog in front of your dog and correcting. Yeah. That's not great. For me, look, I use rewards, but I'm not relying on rewards. So if they're relying on bribery and things like that, absolutely not. And a massive thing as well is trust your gut. I have so many people that come to me like, I was so uncomfortable, but I still did it because they're a professional. Yeah. Like, no, that was abuse. I'm like, no, you should have listened to your gut because that was wrong. Yeah. And like, oh, crap, yeah, you're right. So listen to your gut. If you're feeling uncomfortable, you can see your dog in stress. If your trainer's not explaining how they're working through the stress and they're just putting your dog in stress, voice and ask those questions of, hey, why are you doing this? And if they can't give you a definitive answer, then you need to take your dog away because it's very likely that your dog's just going through stress. Yeah. So you want someone to be explaining every step of the way, relationship-based, not relying on a certain tool, taking the time to teach things and breaking things down. Like what seems like one step, such as going for a walk, can be broken up into so many little steps, especially for a dog who's overwhelmed easily. Yeah. So it's feeling, you should feel good. they're relying on certain tools or certain methods or certain verses without really explaining them, relying on force, relying on pressure, things like that are a main big one. Yeah.
And I mean, I can only speak from my experience with you. And I think because when we got Millie, we got her, I think it was in between one of those lockdowns or whatever. So I know you said in the past that has been the best time to train a dog because you had all the time in the world. But then again, at the time, I didn't have the knowledge. I did have a trainer come in just for one session purely because we had a little bit of issues introducing the puppy to our older dog, which she wasn't bad. She was actually okay, but she did nowhere near explain in depth what you were explaining. So I can only recommend you, yes. It has been amazing just what I've learned, and the knowledge stays with you, whether that's this current dog or you'll get a dog in the future. It's just, retraining the way you actually look at training your dog.
Well, I think once you understand it, you can't go back.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like if you don't fully understand something, it's like, oh, that didn't work.
Yeah. Exactly.
So because there's so much understanding and it makes sense, it sticks.
Yeah.
So that's why, again, I talk so much the whole session because I'm explaining everything. What's going on? What's she thinking? Why is she doing that? Why I'm doing what I'm doing? Because with understanding, you'll follow through. Okay, I'm doing this for a reason, for a purpose. It's not just I'm just doing that action. Then it has no value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that. I hope you got a lot out of this, and we will put Aliyah's, all her tags and Instagrams and everything underneath so you can reach out to her. But thank you so much for coming in today. I love that chat.
Thanks for having me.
If you enjoyed this episode, share it with your friends and get involved in our socials to help shape the topics on this podcast. We'd love to meet you. You can simply book from our webpage or reach out. We are here to help.